You know what's wild? There are people who invite others over and don't immediately feel their sanctuary being threatened. Like they're actually looking forward to it. They're excited. They're planning appetizers. Meanwhile, you're over here calculating exactly how many social batteries you'd need to burn through just to survive 2 hours of someone else existing in your carefully curated space. I am not one of those people. And if you're watching this, neither are you. So let's talk about why some of us would literally rather meet anywhere else, a coffee shop, a park, a random parking lot at 11 p.m., anywhere but our own home. Because here's the spoiler alert. It's not about being antisocial. It's not about being a bad friend. It's not about some character flaw you need to fix. It's so much deeper than that. And honestly, once you understand the psychology behind it, you might finally stop feeling guilty for something that was never wrong in the first place. Here's the thing most people don't understand. Your home isn't just a place. It's your place. There's a massive difference. You spent months, maybe years, getting everything exactly right. The lighting that doesn't assault your eyes at 9 p.m., the temperature calibrated to your specific comfort zone, your favorite mug in its designated spot, your blanket at precisely the right angle on the couch, the way your books are arranged, the specific corner where you always sit to decompress. Everything has a rhythm, everything has a purpose, everything exists in a pattern that's distinctly, specifically, unmistakably yours. And then you invite people over. Suddenly, someone's going to sit in your spot, use your bathroom, touch your things, move that pillow you positioned just right, exist in the space you've spent so long calibrating for your own comfort. It's not that you're being precious about it. It's that your nervous system has learned to relax in this exact configuration. Change one thing, and suddenly you're not quite at ease anymore. Psychologists have a term for this. They call it environmental comfort. It's the state of being perfectly attuned to your surroundings. Your brain has mapped every corner of your space. It knows where everything is. It knows what to expect. There are no surprises, no unknown variables, no threats to process. And for some people, that comfort is incredibly specific. We're not talking about general tidiness or aesthetic preferences. We're talking about a deep, almost primal relationship with your environment. Your home has become an extension of your nervous system. It's not mess that bothers you when people come over. It's disruption. It's the fundamental alteration of a space your brain has learned to treat as completely safe. When that safety gets compromised, even temporarily, even by people you love, something in you tightens. Something goes on alert, and you can't fully relax until they leave and you can restore everything back to the way it was. That's not being difficult. That's having a sensitive nervous system that takes environmental cues very seriously. Let's talk about what hosting actually involves, because people who love having guests genuinely don't seem to understand this part. Hosting isn't one task. It's 7,000 micro tasks disguised as having people over. It's a logistical operation that would make event planners weep. First, there's cleaning, but not regular cleaning, guest cleaning, which means you're suddenly aware of things you've happily ignored for months. The bathroom grout has opinions now. There's dust on door frames. Door frames. Who even looks at door frames? You do now. Because guests might. That weird stain on the ceiling you've been pretending doesn't exist, visible now. The way your kitchen drawer doesn't close all the way, a problem now. You're not just tidying. You're seeing your entire home through the imagined critical eyes of everyone who's about to enter it. And then there's food. Not just do you want pizza. Oh no, that would be too simple. We're talking dietary restrictions, preferences, allergies. That one person who doesn't do carbs after 6 p.m. for reasons they've never fully explained. You're Googling gluten-free vegan appetizers that don't taste like cardboard and disappointment at midnight. You're trying to figure out if anyone's going through a keto phase. You're remembering that someone mentioned they were trying to cut back on sugar 6 months ago, and now you don't know if that's still happening. And drinks. You need multiple options. Tea. What kind? Herbal, green, Earl Grey. Chamomile for the anxious one, something caffeinated for the tired one. You're basically running a beverage hotel, and nobody warned you this was part of the job description. This is what psychologists call cognitive load, the mental effort your brain expends on processing information and making decisions. And hosting. Hosting is cognitive load on steroids. Your brain is running dozens of simultaneous calculations before anyone even arrives. Timing, coordination, social dynamics, problem solving, contingency planning. When does conversation naturally end? How do you politely move people from the living room to the dining area without it being weird? What if someone needs the bathroom while someone else is already in there? What if the food isn't ready when it should be? What if people don't like each other? What if there's an awkward silence? What if someone says something offensive? It's like playing four-dimensional, chess with social etiquette as the board, and you're already exhausted before anyone even rings the doorbell. Your brain has been working overtime for hours, maybe days, simulating every possible scenario so you can be prepared. That's not anxiety being dramatic. That's your mind trying to protect you from social failure. And here's where it gets even more complicated. When you host, your home becomes a stage. You transform from a person relaxing in their own space to a performer. You're the lead actor, the director, the set designer, the caterer, the entertainment coordinator, and the audience manager, all rolled into one anxious burrito of responsibility. There's this concept in social psychology called impression management. It's the process of controlling how others perceive you. We all do it to some degree. You present slightly different versions of yourself at work, with family, with friends, on dates. That's normal. But hosting cranks impression management to 11 because you're not just managing impressions of yourself, you're managing impressions of your entire carefully crafted space. Every single choice you've made is suddenly on display. Your minimalist aesthetic, they're looking at it, forming opinions. Your book collection, they're reading the spines, silently judging your taste. Your art on the walls, they have thoughts. Your furniture, your color choices, your weird obsession with a very specific type of lamp. Everything you've surrounded yourself with is now evidence in the court of social evaluation, even if your guests would never actually judge you. And honestly, they probably won't. Most people are way too focused on themselves to deeply analyze your throw pillow selection, but your brain doesn't care about probability. Your brain is absolutely convinced they're conducting forensic analysis of every decorating decision you've ever made. Your brain has decided that everyone is silently cataloging your failures as a homeowner and a person. That's the impression management system working overtime. And it's exhausting. Here's the kicker. Introverts feel all of this more intensely. If you're someone who recharges through alone time, through solitude, through the absence of social stimulation, then hosting is basically running a marathon while someone simultaneously drains your phone battery. You're expending social energy, which already costs you more than it costs extroverts. And at the same time, you're trying to protect your sacred space, the one place where you're supposed to recover that energy. It's multitasking that nobody asked for. You're depleting yourself in the exact location designed for replenishment. It's like trying to sleep while someone shines a spotlight in your face. The environment is working against its primary purpose. Let's get primal for a moment. Humans are territorial. We've always been territorial. It's hardwired into us from way back when territory meant survival. Your home is your sanctuary, your fortress, your kingdom, the one place in the entire world where you make all the rules, where everything exists exactly as you want it, where you don't have to perform or pretend or accommodate anyone else's preferences. It's yours. Environmental psychologists study something called personal space and territorial behavior, the ways humans claim, defend, and maintain ownership over physical spaces. And your home is the ultimate expression of both concepts. It's the most personal of personal spaces. It's where you exist authentically, where pants are optional, where complete silence for an hour is perfectly valid, where eating dinner at 9 p.m. while reading a book is completely acceptable, where you can be strange and specific and entirely yourself without explanation. But when guests arrive, that sanctuary becomes shared space. Like you can't just exist anymore. You have to host. The rules change, the vibe shifts. You're suddenly responsible for maintaining the atmosphere you've worked so hard to create while simultaneously accommodating other people's energy in it, their needs, their comfort, their preferences. This isn't about mess. It's not about whether they'll spill something or put a glass down without a coaster. It's about someone else's presence fundamentally altering your carefully cultivated environment. Their voice changes the acoustics of your space. Their movements disrupt the stillness you've come to depend on. Their being there transforms your recharge station into a performance venue. The sanctuary becomes a theater, and you're stuck on stage until they decide to leave. And if you have anxiety or sensory sensitivities, or you're neurodivergent in any way, multiply everything I've just said by 1,000. Other people in your space feels like someone rearranging your internal furniture without permission. Every unexpected noise is a small shock to your system. Every movement in your peripheral vision is something to track. You're processing not just social information, but sensory information that you don't have to process when you're alone. The sound of someone else breathing, the way they move differently than you do, the unfamiliar rhythms disrupting your familiar patterns. It's overwhelming in a way that's hard to explain to people who don't experience it. You're not being dramatic. Your nervous system is genuinely working harder than it would if you were alone. Your home isn't just comfortable, it's precisely comfortable. There's a difference. General comfort is nice. Precise comfort is essential for some people. You've spent significant time creating an environment that supports your nervous system in very specific ways. The lighting isn't too bright. The sounds are familiar and predictable. The smells are yours. Temperature is calibrated to your body. Everything from furniture arrangement to ambient noise levels has been optimized for your specific needs. Not Instagram-worthy perfection, not magazine spread aesthetics, just a space that actually works for you, that lets you function, that supports your well-being in ways you might not even consciously recognize. Psychologists call this environmental mastery. The ability to control your surroundings in ways that support your mental and physical health. It's a legitimate psychological need. And for some people, that mastery is hard won. They've figured out through trial and error exactly what they need to feel okay. And their home is the physical manifestation of all that accumulated self-knowledge. Then guests arrive. And suddenly, you're managing their comfort while yours evaporates. Someone's cold, so you adjust the temperature. Now you're uncomfortable. Someone wants to open a window. Your controlled acoustic environment gets disrupted by street noise. Someone talks louder than you're used to. Your peaceful space fills with volume your nervous system wasn't prepared for. You're not worried about mess. You're grieving the temporary loss of your comfort baseline. You're watching your carefully constructed sanctuary get dismantled piece by piece with every accommodation you make for someone else. Here's something people rarely talk about. Hosting requires vulnerability, real vulnerability. You're not just inviting people into a building, you're opening your private world to others, letting them see how you actually live, what you actually value, what you've chosen to surround yourself with when no one's watching. It's intimate in a way that meeting at a bar or a restaurant just isn't. When you meet someone in a neutral public space, you're both guests of that environment. Neither of you owns it. Neither of you is exposed by it, but your home is different. Your home is evidence of who you are. The researcher Brené Brown talks about vulnerability as the combination of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Hosting hits all three simultaneously. You're uncertain whether people will understand your space, whether they'll get why you've made the choices you've made. You're risking judgment, silent or spoken. You're emotionally exposed because your sanctuary is exposed. Your home is an extension of you. It's your internal world externalized into furniture and objects and arrangements. When someone enters it, they're not just seeing things, they're seeing you. That's a lot to handle. That's a lot to offer. And it's completely understandable if some part of you resists offering it. Let's be honest. Social media has absolutely ruined us on this one. Everyone's posting their perfect hosting moments, aesthetically arranged charcuterie boards that definitely took 2 hours to assemble, Pinterest-worthy table settings with cloth napkins and coordinated candles, candid laughter that was absolutely staged at least 3 times to get the lighting right. Everyone looks effortless. Everyone looks happy. Everyone's home looks amazing. And suddenly having someone over for coffee feels like it requires a production budget and a creative director. This is social comparison in action, measuring yourself against others. And when it comes to hosting, social comparison is a recipe for absolute misery because you're comparing your behind the scenes chaos to everyone else's carefully curated highlight reel, real talk. Your guests probably just want to hang out. They don't need themed cocktails with color-coordinated napkins. They don't need a 5-course meal with courses they can't pronounce. They don't need your home to look like a lifestyle magazine spread. They just want to see you, to spend time with you, to exist in your presence for a while. But try telling your anxiety brain that at 2 a.m., when you're spiraling about whether your couch cushions look flat, try explaining to your nervous system that nobody actually cares about the bathroom grout. The social comparison machine doesn't accept rational arguments. It just keeps showing you images of other people's perfect parties and asking why you can't measure up. There's another piece to this puzzle, one that doesn't get discussed enough. When you meet someone at a neutral location, you maintain something crucial. You can leave whenever you want. Bad conversation, fake an emergency, feeling overstimulated, Irish goodbye, energy depleted. Suddenly remember you have somewhere to be. You maintain what I call exit strategy autonomy, the ability to remove yourself from a situation when it stops serving you. That's not being rude. That's self-preservation. That's knowing your limits and respecting them. But when people are in your home, you're trapped. Think about that. You literally cannot leave your own sanctuary. You can't escape to somewhere more comfortable because you're already in your most comfortable place and it's been invaded. You're stuck managing the situation until the socially acceptable departure time arrives, which could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 5 hours, depending on how oblivious your guests are to social cues. Worse, you're no longer in control of your own space. You can't just go lie down because you're tired. You can't retreat to your usual comfort activities. You can't disappear into your bedroom and scroll your phone for 20 minutes to recover. You have to stay present, stay engaged, stay hosting. You have to perform in the exact place where you should be able to fully let your guard down. For people who value autonomy, and many introverts and sensitive people value it immensely, this lack of exit strategy in your own home is genuinely distressing. You've traded escape routes for hospitality, and some part of you knows that wasn't a fair exchange. So let's get to the part you've been waiting for. The part where I tell you that everything you've been feeling is completely valid. If you hate hosting, you're not antisocial. You're not broken. You're not a bad friend. You're not selfish or weird or defective. You're someone whose comfort, peace, and sense of control are deeply and legitimately tied to your personal environment. That's not a character flaw. That's self-knowledge. Inviting people into that environment feels like voluntarily disrupting your own well-being, because that's exactly what it is. You're choosing to sacrifice your comfort baseline for someone else's benefit. That's not nothing. That's actually quite generous when you think about it. You're giving something precious. The problem is that society doesn't recognize it as a sacrifice. Society expects you to host without cost, without complaint, without needing recovery time afterward. Maybe you found workarounds. Maybe you meet friends at cafes instead. Do outdoor activities where the space doesn't belong to anyone. Bring wine to other people's houses and mysteriously never quite get around to returning the invitation. Whatever works for you, works. There's no rule that says friendship requires opening your home. There's no law that says you must reciprocate hosting with hosting. You can be a wonderful friend and never have anyone over. You can maintain deep, meaningful relationships entirely in neutral territory. The quality of your connections isn't measured by how many times you've entertained in your living room. Because here's the secret: protecting your sanctuary doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. It makes you someone who understands what you need to function well, someone who respects their own limits, someone who knows that a drained host is not a good host anyway. You could force yourself to have people over, push through the discomfort, pretend you're fine, but you'd be miserable. And honestly, your guests would probably sense it. They'd feel the tension you're trying to hide. They'd pick up on the fact that you're counting the minutes until they leave. Is that really better than just meeting at a coffee shop in the first place? You're not obligated to suffer for social conventions. You're not required to sacrifice your peace to prove you're a good person. You're allowed to know yourself, to honor what you know, to structure your social life in ways that actually work for who you are. The people who love you will understand. And if they don't understand, if they pressure you, if they make you feel guilty for protecting what you need, that tells you something important about them, not about you. Your home is yours. Your boundaries are yours. Your comfort matters. And you're not wrong for knowing that.